Todd here. Today we're going to look at lighting a portrait. Some portraits I did in a style for this agency, Wieden & Kennedy. I did them for years, 1996 to 2016 I did these things. Did a ton of them. And so I'm going to show you the lighting setup I use for this. We're going to shoot it with the Fuji GX680 with a digital back on it. And then I've got all the lenses I used on this thing. So we'll kind of give you a show you that and show you some different looks and feels. My dad's coming into the studio, so he's going to be my subject. I usually do a portrait of him once a year, kind of a thing. So it'll be fun to do in this Wieden & Kennedy style that I did. So let's, first off, let's go take a look downtown at the agency. The wall that's up has all these images, all these portraits up on it as you walk into the agency. So we'll go take a look at that now. So here's the wall behind me with all the photos that I did, portraits up on the wall there, here at the entrance into the agency Wieden & Kennedy. So we can get a look at those. It's pretty cool to see them all up on the wall like that. Did that for years. Haven't been doing them for quite a while, but did that for years. Now let's take a quick look at some of the images, some of the portraits. The video I did post, I posted it on YouTube a long time ago, but I'll show it to you now. It's only like a minute long, and you can see a brief sample of these things. I shot over 1,000. I don't even know how many, but I know it's over 1,000 of these portraits of all their employees in that time span. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, to start the setup, we're going to put up the backdrop first and get that all dialed in, and then we'll move on to some of the lighting. But first up, we got to do that background. So our background's up now, up nice and high. That way, if I go with a wide lens, I'm good to go, you know, to make sure I got coverage on the background. But we're going to go a little old school lighting with some Speedotron gear for one specific reason, and that is that we're going to use a strip light that I made years ago. It's a piece of plexi, foam core, and a Speedotron mount back here. So my Pro Photo stuff won't connect to this right now. I don't have a mount for it. So we're going to use Speedotron, which I have and I haven't gotten rid of. So I've got a bunch of heads and packs. So we're going to use this because this is going to be the background light, which is this strip box here that handmade back in the day. And it goes back here and it mounts up and it sits on this Apple box like this with we'll mount it into here just to make it safer. So that's our background light, which you can see back there, the little strip, although this is following me right now. But that's our strip light, which we'll have in the background. Then we've got our other main head, the key light, which we'll put on an old softbox I never use either, a plume wafer box. We're going to put that on here. Again, it just mounts on here, super simple, little bayonet mount. Just like that. And then this soft box is going to be our main light. Just spin it so it's vertically like that. Nice big source, soft source. And then what you adjust is how close or how far away you have that from the subject to change the feel of the light. And then you can feather it off of the subject a little bit. If you feather it away or you put more on, that kind of thing will adjust how the light looks on the person. Plus we need a couple other things, which I'll go grab right now. I have these big rolling flaps that I have. It has white, black, and white on there. So one I can use to fill or spin it around quickly to black to make subtract light. So make it much more contrasty really quick with this, and it's on wheels so it moves really nice and quick. I've got two of them because the other one is going to work on this other side of the main key light as a flag to flag it off the background. So that's the start of our lighting. So now I've got to get the stool in there and get everything dialed in, get the packs up and running, and we'll do a couple tests to make sure everything's looking good. Everything's dialed in now, so let's get a look at the set. So from back here, you can see got the flag up there, the rolling flat to flag off the background. Got a other rolling flat right there, which is subtracting light at this time. You can see my main key light there. It's about a little over 2 feet away from the subject. I may adjust that a little bit once I get the subject in there, my dad. And then you can see our background light right there. And again, I'll feather, turn that one way or the other, pull it back a little bit, depending on how much spread I want to get onto the background right there. You really can't tell from the model light what it's actually going to do because it does spread quite a bit further than that. And then we got the Fuji set up right here. I'm in pretty tight to the subject when I'm shooting these, depending on what lens I have, but I stay pretty close in. And we got a film back on there right now. I haven't got the digital back on there yet. We'll get that on there shortly. But yeah, that's pretty much the setup right there. And I'll back up a bit and you can see a little bit more of what it looks like. Pretty simple. And I'll do a little measurements later, but this is basically the setup. Yeah, and we're ready to start doing some testing. That was a look at the setup, where the lights are right now. I'll finesse everything once my dad gets here and I start looking through the camera, deciding what lens I want to use. Obviously, this is way wider than what I'm going to see, and everything gets cropped to a square. And then I add in the Kodak and the T-Max 100. Back in the day, I started shooting this on the Hasselblad, and then we printed everything full frame, seeing the edges of the film and all the numbers and everything, and then printed it on a 16 by 20, and then it went up on the wall after that. But then switching to digital, added all the frame numbers and the Kodak and the T-Max 100 digitally in Photoshop after the fact, so we didn't have to shoot film anymore. I do miss shooting the Polaroids beforehand. That was kind of fun to see the Polaroids. And I've got thousands of Polaroids that I've kept from doing this job over the years. But anyway, that's the basic lighting setup. And I want to start doing some testing real quick, put the digital back on, and getting everything dialed in before my dad gets here tomorrow. That way we're not dinking around, messing around with the lighting too much, not wasting his time, although he's happy to be here as long as I want him to be. But anyway, I've got to start doing some testing. The test shot of me turned out really good. So my light's dialed in where I want it. And my dad's been here. We got the shots. It was a lot of fun. Had a great time. And on screen here, you can see this is the basic shot here. Light was a little bit too far, not quite around far enough around the front. So I moved that around a little bit. and I've got the rolling flat on black right now, so it's subtracting the light from the side of his face. And then you can see here I do one, this is a shot where I rolled the flat back to the white side, adding the fill on his left side there, which is, for what I want to do today, is just a little too flat. And when you're lighting something contrasty like this, the background, where the light's coming from his right side, the background is dark behind that side, so you get a nice separation on the side of his face, and then you light up the other side, the shadow side of his face, where the light is on the background. But I didn't really care for that, so a few shots of that, and then flipped it back to the dark side, and then started having some fun, got him decked out with some glasses and some fun stuff. And I've already got my crop on here. You can see where the square is, so I know where I want to be in my crop when I start shooting. And then just start messing around with some different, you know, where he's doing different positions, turning his head, put the hood up. This one I really liked. A little bit of a Dutch angle on this one, which is kind of fun. And just kind of messed around with that. Put the hood up all the way, you know, just kind of having fun. And then changing angles again, coming in a little closer. So here I was shooting with a 50 millimeter. Had to shoot on my R5 because I couldn't get my phase back to connect with Capture One at this point, which was kind of a bummer. I really wanted to shoot with the Fuji today, but I think my Capture One, it's the latest version, and it's just not accepting the connecting with the Firewire 800 to 400 to Thunderbolt connection for some reason or something. But so I shot these all with the R5 and with the 50 millimeter lens right in here for these shots. And then just a few more different shots here. Then I switched to the 11 millimeter here to get a little bit more distractive kind of look, makes his face really stretched kind of expression, and moved in really tight on these like that, which are really kind of fun. Not really what I was looking for, but still playing around with some different lenses, and definitely keeping that rolling flat on the black side, so I'm subtracting light from his left side of his face still, keeping it very dramatic, very contrasty kind of thing. And then I get more into, after playing around a bit, get more into what I'm looking for the shot, kind of fun stuff. Had a few more props. These are all props I had in the studio from a shoot I did a long time ago, and just keeping these type of things. But then come up with this shot, which I really like right there. So I give that a little red check mark so I know what I like there. And yeah, some without the glasses. Just kind of playing around, still looking for the shot, some without the glasses, just, you know, and I did some of his smiling too, just so I would have those with me for later, just to keep on file. And then, you know, did some funnier glasses where I'm really close in, still shooting with the 50 millimeter here, which is probably my favorite lens. Even with the Hasselblad, when I was shooting with that, I shoot with an 80, or with the Fuji, I would shoot with like the 120 or 100 on that. So that gets to that. And then where was the one I liked on there? There was one I really liked right there. So that was a lot of fun. So that was the shooting of it, and being able to look quickly at, you know, seeing the fill, adding the fill card and subtracting it with the flat away there. And the more you turn, you know, the more fill you're going to get on the left side of their face. But I was keeping it very contrasty for these. So now we'll go into doing what I do now is in Photoshop, add the frames on the side to make it look like it's shot on film. Now once I pick the images I like that I want to go with, I go into Photoshop and I have a frame that I've already made from a past image where I just scanned an image and then took out the actual image, kept the numbers and the Kodak, T-Max and all that kind of stuff. And then I scanned hundreds of these things over the years. So I took and I would crop out just the numbers and the Kodak, so I would be able to change them so not every one would have the exact same number. I would change it on every one and mix them up and add in some other imperfections and things like that over the years. So then once I have my image, which I've got them both up right now, I would just drag and drop this in there. So this image that I've got right here, I would just drag and drop it in, and it just drops right into the thing. And then I can scale it a little bit more if I need to, or what have you. Just have it right like that, drop it right in, and it's done. And then I can just, to the next one, I would just do that, but then I would change the different numbering and all that kind of stuff on them, and just so they come up a little bit different each time. So I'd mess around with that kind of a thing, and then it would be done. And so it's already on a 16 by 20 format black out there, so then I could just print right away. And I printed just a ton of these things over the years. So it was really a pretty, I had a pretty streamlined situation. So when I would shoot these things for Wieden & Kennedy, it would usually be about 3 days worth of shooting, and I'd shoot, like 15 different people in a day, 12 to 15, something like that would come in, maybe it was 12. So we'd get, a few in the morning, a few in the afternoon, and then I would send over contact sheets, and Dan and Dave would pick what they like, and then I would make the prints, and then they'd put them up on the wall. So it was a really kind of a really fun thing to do over the years. But that's basically how I did that portion. Super simple in Photoshop, little drop in like that. And then on my book here with all my diagrams and stuff, so I just normally do a little diagram of something I shoot that I may want to shoot again. I have this as a different version as well. But, then I can tell myself, well, that my background light was only 14 inches from the background. My main key light was 2.5 feet from the subject. And then I have my power settings, what they were at, where I set the power, how far away either the fill or the black side or the white side. So I had the black side 30 inches away from him. Camera was roughly 2.5 feet. That moves depending on what I'm shooting, what lens and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of it gives me a good base to get back to, and then what the pack power settings were for sure. So I can just quickly go right to it if I need to shoot it again. And then you just make any adjustments and play around and have fun with it like that. But I always kind of keep a little, you can just see all these notes I've got of things I like to take note of and remember how I did it so I can get back to it quickly. So that's about it. Yeah, so it was a fun shoot. Hope you go out and try it, mess around. There's nothing set in stone here. You can do any kind of lighting you want to do to it. This is just a basic setup for a nice contrasty, and then have some portrait, have some fun with it and make it your own kind of thing. But there's good base start for you to test with if you want to. And yeah, appreciate you watching. Till next time, I'm out.